Joe, we're live.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the August 3rd meeting of Narragansett Town Council meeting. Please start by raising your hand. Pledge allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen. Born and unborn.
Thank you, everyone. Mr. Mannix could not be here this evening. The first item we have is consent agenda. Does any council member wish to remove the current consent agenda from the agenda?
I'm all set.
Seeing none. Okay, thank you. Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve motion to approve the consent agenda, which is the motion to approve the list of real estate abatements in the amount of $14,795.87 dated July 22nd, 2020. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion. But did we skip the approval of the minutes?
Oh, thanks. We did skip it. I'm sorry. I was distracted by my cat. She was trying to knock down my TV. I apologize to the town. So let me start off by approving the minutes. Approving the minutes of May 4th, 2020 public hearing meeting. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Lima, seconded by Mr. Pugh. The second approval of minutes is a May 6th, 2020 budget workshop session. Is there a motion?
Excuse me just a second.
Vote on it.
Oh, I'm sorry, you guys.
You had a motion made and seconded. You still need to vote on it.
You need to vote. Thank you. All right, we'll take the vote. Roll call vote starting with Mr. Lima.
Richard Lima, aye.
Mr. Pugh.
Jesse Pugh, aye.
Mr. Murray.
Hey.
Jill Lawler, aye. As far as the May 6th meeting, we'll take a vote on that now. So Mr. Lima.
You gotta make a motion first, right?
Motion and second first.
All right, I thought we made the motion second first. Can we start over with the pledge? Can I have a motion for the May 6th budget workshop meeting?
Right, I'll make that motion.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jesse. So the motion made by Mr. Lima, seconded by Mr. Pugh. So now we'll take the vote, starting with Mr. Lima.
Richard Lima, aye.
Mr. Pugh.
Jesse Pugh, aye.
Mr. Murray.
Aye.
Jill Lawler, aye. So now we'll go down, we'll ask for someone to make a motion to approve the real estate abatements in the amount of $14,795.87 dated July 22nd, 2020. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Lima, is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Motion made by Mr. Lima, second by Mr. Pugh. Move on to new business. The first
Gotta vote
item.
on
Excuse me.
Gotta vote on it.
I'm way off tonight, you guys. Okay, so to vote on that, Mr. Lima,
Richard Lima, aye.
Mr. Pugh,
Jesse Pugh, aye.
Mr. Murray,
Patrick Murray, aye.
Jill Lawler, aye. Okay. So down to new business to the fire department. First motion is a motion to approve the MOU agreement with Rhode Island Association of Fire Chiefs and the town of Narragansett motion to authorize the town manager to sign said agreement. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, this is going to afford the town the opportunity to participate in the statewide written test for entry-level firefighters. It'll replace the town's internal testing process. Do we have any initial comments from the council, starting with Mr. Lima?
I have none.
Thank you. Mr. Pugh?
No comments.
Mr. Murray?
All set.
I'm all set as well. Do we have anybody from the audience who would like to speak on this item?
Not at this time.
Okay, thank you. So we'll take a vote. We'll start with Mr. Lima.
Richard Lima, aye.
Mr. Pugh?
Jesse Pugh, aye.
Mr. Murray?
Patrick Murray, aye.
Jill Lawler, aye. The next motion is from the engineering department, a motion to approve, ratify, and confirm miscellaneous repairs by George Sherman Sand and Gravel, Inc. in the amount of $11,664. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Lima, seconded by Mr. Pugh. This is the final paving of Angel Road, water main repairs for Wake Robin. Is there any initial discussion from the council? Mr. Lima,
I have none.
Mr. Pugh,
Nope.
Mr. Murray?
All set.
I have none as well. Anyone from the town would like to speak on this matter?
Not at this time.
Okay, seeing none, we'll go ahead and we'll vote. We'll start with Mr. Lima,
Richard Lima, aye.
Mr. Pugh,
Jesse Pugh, aye.
Mr. Murray,
Patrick Murray, aye.
Jill Lawler, aye. The next is also from the engineering department, a motion to approve the purchase of biocide and for the wastewater division from Evercore Water Technologies at the price of $8.20 per gallon for the 2020-21 and FY 2021-22 year. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Lima, second by Mr. Pugh. This is for the chemical used in odor control for our 3 major pump stations. And is there any discussion from the council? Mr. Lima,
I have none at this time.
Mr. Pugh,
No comments.
Mr. Murray.
All set.
I would actually like the town manager to comment this because I want to make sure the town understands that this is not a current odor coming from the Scarborough area. And Jim's been spending a lot of time at the treatment center.
Good evening, everyone.
Evening.
We all heard that the DEM was closing Scarborough down because of a high bacteria count. I met with Scott Goodinson, who is on the meeting call today. Met with Scott Goodinson right after that came out, and we went through. He walked me through the plant and demonstrated to me the effluent water that goes back out to the ocean, about 0.42 miles out to the ocean, is not toxic. It is clear and clean. Some of the things that have contributed possibly to the bacteria count that Scott has listed for me, and I agree with him. The increased use of the beach, the odd tides that we've been having with the pile up of seaweed that's decaying along the shore, and as well as the more people using Scarborough, it seems. And there's also a state drain pipe that goes down. It's for a street like catch base and stuff that rolls straight down into Scarborough. That picks up animal waste, anything that anyone dumps down inside to the storm drains, and that's that corrugated pipe that goes along the north side of the wastewater treatment plant, and it just drops it out onto the sand, and it kind of trickles out into the ocean. There's a big sign there, a red sign saying, "Don't walk through this when the water's flowing." That's a state sign. Those are probably all the contributing factors to the problem they had there. It certainly was not the water that was being discharged, the clear effluent that was being discharged from the wastewater treatment plant 0.42 miles off the shore. And the plant has an excellent record for clear effluent that comes out of it. So I just want to make people aware that it's not the plant that caused that problem. And if Scott is on, if you'd like to say something, please encourage him to do so. He's doing a great job over there.
Hear me? Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Hey, great. Yes, just like Jim said, the plant is running at peak performance. We've had really good numbers the last couple of months, and the team is doing a wonderful job. That bioxide that Jill was talking about is for, we use that at the Weeder pump station and the other, I'm still learning around Narragansett, being a city folk guy, but and Sprague Bridge. Those 2 locations are where we're using bioxide, and that's to help control the odors, going over to the South Kingston Regional Plant. So that's part of our mutual aid agreement. We help them in control those odors. That's for that bioxide, and that's a pretty good price that we're going to pay for that price for that product. So, and the plant is running at a wonderful rate right now.
Would the speaker please identify by full name and title, please?
I'm sorry, Scott Goodinson, Superintendent, Wastewater Treatment Plant, Narragansett.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Scott, and thank you to Mr. Cheney as well.
Thank you.
Anyone from the public wishing to speak on this matter, Mr. Holland?
No one at this time.
May I
Okay,
just clarify?
please.
It may have been the way I heard it, but I just wanted to clarify that the price is $2.80 per gallon.
Correct.
I thought I heard 820, but it's 280 for the record.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional comments from the council before we vote?
No comments.
I don't have a motion. I don't have a motion made and seconded yet.
Okay. For the bioxide, we didn't have a motion made and seconded yet? I think we did. No?
Did it? And I missed.
Yeah, I think that we all spoke on it.
Okay.
We can do it again, Terry, if you'd like. I'm happy to.
I'll
Because
make that.
Made by Mr. Lima and Mr. Pugh. Are you gonna second that? Seconded by Mr. Pugh. Mr. Lima?
Thank you.
My vote, Richard Lima, aye.
We're gonna just do the whole motion over again and then vote, just to make sure I did it correctly.
Okay,
The motion to approve.
I make the motion.
Okay, so you're gonna vote on the motion, yes?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Pugh?
Jesse Pugh, yes.
Mr.
Sorry.
Mr. Murray?
Patrick Murray, aye.
Jill Lawler, aye. And now we're gonna actually vote on it. So we'll start with Mr. Lima,
Richard Lima, aye.
Mr. Pugh,
Jesse Pugh, aye.
Mr. Murray,
Yes, I support Buckside.
Jill Lawler, aye. Thank you. Move on to the next one. Next one is from Public Works. A motion to approve the purchase of 10 E-Cube trash receptacles for Galilee from E-Cube Labs pursuant to the NCPA Cooperative Purchasing Alliance contract in the total of $24,800. Is there a motion?
Richard Lima, I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Jesse Pugh, I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Lima, and then followed by Jesse. This motion we have seen before. It came to us before in March regarding a grant that Dory Boardman had received from DPW for approving purchase of $25,000 of grant money. So having said that, would the council like to speak on this matter? Starting with Mr. Lima.
Nothing at this time.
Mr. Pugh.
Just a quick couple, maybe one question.
Sure.
I don't know if Mike's on. If not, maybe it would be Steve to answer these. Dagno. So I'm looking at the invoice. Are these the solar powered receptacles? Or I know there's the plug-in, the solar, and there's a hybrid. I'm just curious, just for the public to know.
These should be the solars. Dory Boardman is on as well. If you have any technical questions, maybe Dan could put her on, but these should be the solars.
Good evening. This is Dory Boardman, recycling coordinator from DPW. Yes, the 5 that are trashed are the solar compacting units because they told me, the vendor said that recycling can't have compacting because of the glass and it'll ruin the unit. So it's only meant for trash. So the 5 are solar. They are solar and they all do have plug backups, but the 5 solar powered compactors are for the trash.
Great, that's awesome. And then just the only other question, I saw that in the invoice, it says there's an advertising panel on each of them. Is that digital or like paper?
It's going to be like a paper insert. That's a poster that I'm working with a funder to create it so that it has a recycling message on it. Afterwards, it'll be protected, I believe, under a plastic so it doesn't get destroyed. And then afterwards, if the Galilee Advisory Committee would like, they could sell the advertising in order to put to the local businesses if they choose, or we can just keep it a local message to recycle and how to recycle right through the Rhode Island Resource Recovery messaging.
Great. All right, cool. Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited to see these. So thanks.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Dory.
Thank you, Dory. I have no questions. Mr. Holland, is there anyone from the public wishing to speak?
There is. First one is Michael.
Michael, welcome. Name and address, please. You need to unmute yourself.
We good?
You're good.
Michael Millen Jr., 65 Tupelo Trail. I am in full favor of the E-Cube trash receptacles. Solar-powered compactors with the ability to wirelessly notify when they are full provide an efficient and cost-effective method of trash collection. The E-Cubes have the capability to create a public Wi-Fi network to any area and can also be used as advertising space for local businesses and provide an added source of town revenue. Many of our coastal neighbors have adopted similar receptacles, and Narragansett should embrace using them as well. Modern, creative, and versatile solutions to issues are essential to maintain the balance between technology and our town's natural beauty. Again, I am in full favor for this and would hope that the town examines even more areas where these types of receptacles can be utilized. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else, Mr. Holland?
That's it.
Okay, seeing none, we'll go around the council and we'll ask for a vote, please, starting with Mr. Lima,
Richard Lima, aye.
Mr. Pugh,
Jesse Pugh, aye.
Mr. Murray.
I just had one quick question for Dory. Dory, can Jesse plug his electric car into the trash receptacle?
No.
Yeah, town council perk, I'll take it.
Patrick
Sure.
Murray, aye. Patrick Murray, aye.
Jill Lawler, aye.
It does everything.
Thank you, Patrick. Jill Lawler, aye, and Dory, once again, thank you very much. Great work on getting that grant.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to our next item, which is from Community Development, a motion to read, pass, and adopt as a second reading, an ordinance, the amendment of Chapter 82 of the Code of Ordinances of the Town of Narragansett entitled Waterways, specifically text revisions at Section 82-203 mooring season, amending Narragansett's Code of Ordinances to address the request by the Harbor Management Commission, changing the time frame for mooring field operations in South Ferry, Anawan, and Harbor of Refuge fields. Is there a motion?
Richard Lima, I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Lima, seconded by Mr. Pugh. This is a second reading. Is there any discussion by the council? Mr. Lima,
I have none at this time.
Mr. Pugh,
No questions.
Mr. Murray?
All set.
I am all set as well. Does anyone from the audience, anyone from the town that wish to speak on that matter, Mr. Holland?
No one from the public.
Okay. Having said that, we'll take a roll call vote, starting with Mr. Lima,
Richard Lima, aye.
Mr. Pugh,
Jesse Pugh, aye.
Mr. Murray,
Patrick Murray, aye.
Jill Lawler, aye. Next motion is from Parks and Rec. It's a motion to approve, hang on. A motion to approve renovations on Anishki Tombog, Narragansett sculpture completed by Abcor Restoration, Inc., in the amount of $38,560. Is there a motion?
Richard Lima, I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you so much. This is a gift of a sculpture from Peter Toth that was given to the town in 1982. It was assisted by local tribespeople, Craig Little Fox Champlin and Sonny Brown. The statue is 38 years old. It needs major renovation. A couple of good things about this, although we see a tag number of 38,560, the town did receive a $10,000 grant from the Rhode Island Foundation, and the Pier Residents Association was very generous in recently donating $500. Steve, Mr. Wright, you're on. Would you like to add anything more about the actual renovation that needs to take place?
Well, sure, and thank you. Welcome, everybody. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak on this tonight. As you said, Jill, this is a gift that was carved by Hungarian immigrant Peter Toff and gifted to the town back in 1982. And as the agenda says, it's reflective of Toff's desire to have his carvings reflective of all people. So it's no better than Toff, assisted by Narragansett tribespeople, Little Fox and Sonny Brown. And we've been maintaining at the Parks Department since 1982 with inspections, cleanings, and staining ever since '82. But it's really seen its better years. And without this work, we are very fearful that the next major storm will actually knock it down. It needs a major work, and this Abcor Restoration, who is well renowned in historic renovation, will take this, bring it back in the shop, and redo this work. So I give the Tom Warren, the chairman of the Recreation Advisory Board, success seeking out the grant for $10,000, and also the Narragansett Pier residents for donating $500. The rest of the money is coming from the Parks Rehabilitation account. So again, this is a worthwhile project. Everybody knows this sculpture. You come into town, it's the first thing you see, and I think it's a very worthwhile project.
Thank you. Mr. Holland, is there anyone from the audience that wishes to speak?
There is one, Stanley Wojciechowski.
Welcome, Stanley. Name and address, please.
Stan Wojciechowski on Boston Lake Road. $30,000. I guess we got some grant. But you know, with today's world, somebody may just topple. This thing may get toppled in the very near future. And the way this country is going, number one. Number two is, I went to a couple of Indians, and they have the ability to do some good work with their hands, and I think we should honor them by letting them fix it or pay for it or take care of it, security wise, as well as improve it. I just don't think at this time we need to spend $28,000 on this project. I'd like to postpone this until this whole pandemic situation and toppling of statues is ended. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wojciechowski. Mr. Holland, is there anyone else?
There is Dr. Alba.
Welcome, Dr. Alba. Your name and address, please.
Yes, Dr. Al Alba, 24 Eagles Nest Terrace, Narragansett, Rhode Island. I think it's a beautiful statue, and we definitely have to have it preserved. And ABCOR is a fantastic company. They're second to none. But Stan does have me thinking, the Native American Indians, they are phenomenal with their artisan crafts. They've put up brick walls, and we own a Little Fox. Craig Champlin was second to none in regards to putting up and creating beautiful artwork with his stonework and whatnot. So Stan has a valid point in regards to, I don't know if we ever did approach the Native American Indians, and even if we could pay them. So don't let them have to do it for nothing, but even give them the money. And a lot of the Native Americans might be able to use that money as well. So like I said, I love ABCOR, I love the company, but it's something to consider. And I was also thinking, I don't know if down the road, if there's something we might be able to, like some kind of structure, we might be able to put like a covering over it, like a glass covering over it to preserve it over the years. So that way the elements will be protected, but we'll all be able to enjoy it and see it and whatnot. I don't know if that's ever been thrown out there as well. But in any event, it's just food for thought. And, you know, like I said, I think ABCOR will do a wonderful job. But Stan had some valid points as well. Thank you very much. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Dr. Alba. Is there anyone else wishing to speak, Mr. Holland?
Not at this time.
Okay. Seeing none, we'll take roll call vote, starting with Mr. Lima. Mr. Lima?
Richard Lima, aye.
Mr. Pugh?
Jesse Pugh, aye.
Mr. Murray?
Patrick Murray, aye.
Jill Lawler, aye. The next motion also comes to us from Parks and Recreation. A motion to waive the current policy and authorize the use of general construction services contract with ABCOR Restorations, Inc. to complete the renovations to the North Beach Clubhouse in the amount of $60,000, $6,107. Is there a motion?
Richard Lima, I make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Lima, second by Mr. Pugh. This is for three projects. It's for the men's room. The women's room was done in 2019, for the kitchen and for the foyer and the main hall. We'll start off with Mr. Lima for initial comments.
I have none. I've been down there and it's definitely needed. So again, I know what needs to be done down there, and I'm glad that we're moving forward with getting the project done. But
no additional comments on any of the work that's being done.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Pugh.
Oh, sorry about that. I do have a question for Steve Wright. Did Abcor, sorry, I don't know the history on it. Did Abcor build the pavilion initially, or were they involved in that?
No, but they've done substantial work on it. I can give you some history, at least from my perspective. I've been here since 2011, and since Hurricane Sandy, and Abcor haven't done all this work, but we have done about $126,000 worth of work since 2011 from Hurricane Sandy repairs. We've done sidewalk repairs. We've done sewer pumps repairs. Give you a little history about, because the North Beach Clubhouse Canachet Club has extensive history with large special events of the Rhode Island Philharmonic Concert, Polar Plunges, Jingle Bell Run, summer concert venues. In fact, there's a summer concert tonight on the North Beach Clubhouse deck, and plus all of the wedding venues. We have had, back in 2012, 2013, we had extensive toilet sewer problems. And so we renovated the sewer pump station back in 2013 for $27,000. We've replaced both air conditioning units. We've also replaced the ceiling tiles. And now we're doing both restrooms had home toilets, pump toilets in there. Now we're putting in high flush toilets in both men's and ladies' rooms, and we're redoing the tiling in the kitchen and counters for public safety and for health conditions. So this has been a 5-10 year capital plan that we've been trying to do at the North Beach Clubhouse, again, for the last 10 years. So it's every single year we've been trying to put these projects together to get this done. So these three projects are part of the budget capital project that you approved back in April.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So I guess I was curious what the reason was for waiving our normal policy for the multiple bids.
Well, it's because it's over a set amount of money. The three projects combined are over $50,000.
Oh, so the recommendation to waive it is because it's three projects that are all smaller that happen to be more than 50?
Exactly.
Okay, as opposed to doing it as three separate projects on the agenda. That would be under 50.
Exactly.
Okay, all right, got it. All right, thanks, Steve.
Okay, thank you, Jesse. I have no questions for Mr. Wright. Thank you very much. We'll go and ask if there anyone from the public that needs to speak.
Nothing at this time.
Okay. Seeing none, we'll start with Mr. Lima for the vote.
Richard Lima, aye.
Mr. Pugh?
Jesse Pugh, aye.
Mr. Murray?
Murray, aye.
Jill Lawler, aye. The next motion is from Parks and Recreation as well. Steve, we have you in the hot seat tonight, huh? A motion to waive the current policy and authorize the use of general construction services contract with Abcor Restoration Company to complete the renovations at the Marina Building at Middlebridge in the amount of $56,740. Is there a motion?
Richard Lima, I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Lima, seconded by Pugh. This is for the marina that we purchased in 2012. There's been extensive damage to the outside of the Marina Building. The Land Trust, which oversees this, there are several individuals who rallied to save the Marina Building from destruction a few years back. So what this item is doing is actually taking care of the exterior of the building, including putting in hurricane windows. I'm going to ask Mr. Holland that he could please bring up the picture of the existing marina. And while he's doing that, I just wanted to congratulate Community Development. I hope that they're on tonight for actually receiving a $140,000 DEM grant, which will be used to actually remove the permanent pavement that is right at the edge of the water and replace it with some salt-tolerant grasses, which will make it into a really nice park-like setting. I wanted to make sure to include that in this portion of the discussion because once we have that set, it will become park-like. And I think that the reason to be able to look at the exterior of the building and make it more aesthetically pleasing is something that will just be highlighted of the Middlebridge Marina area and making a great place for visitors and families that live in town to enjoy. Mr. Holland, can you put that up? And Then we'll ask the members of the council to make their initial, and also if you could you also put up what it looked like originally? You had one photo from the heyday. So this is the original Middlebridge bait shop from way back when. I know that there was a postcard that was sent to us, I believe, by a Land Trust member, Patty Sylvia, for this picture. And then we have it today. So obviously, it is in need of some sprucing up, to say the least. So we'll start with Mr. Lima.
I have no comments on this. I think that wonderful job, and we'll move forward with it.
Thank you. Mr. Pugh, you serve on the Land Trust. Do you have any additional comments on the grant and or the exterior work to be done?
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad to see the work on the verge of getting done. So it's definitely, good news. And I was glad to hear about the grant as well. So that's great, for sure. The only question I would have is going to be along the same lines as my last one for Steve. I guess I'm just curious on the reasoning to not get multiple bids on the project. That would be my only question.
And that's a great question, Councilman Pugh. Because Abcor is our general construction contractor, we go through purchasing, and they're provided the opportunity to give us this price. And we've been working with them on this project and others in town. And with this particular project, they gave us a price with a couple of different options. And what we really want to do, as you saw in that picture, and as Councilwoman Lawyers said, we originally, as you probably know, when we first purchased this property back in 2012, we got hit with Hurricane Sandy. And that building, along with a restaurant building and another building, were almost demolished. And we were actually looking to tear those buildings down. So what I asked Keith to do is to give us a couple options on securing and hopefully being able to provide us material using hardy board, hurricane windows, and fiberglass doors, and material that's going to sustain the weather. I didn't provide pictures where, as you know, on moon high tides, that parking lot just today gets flooded, particularly that building. So we wanted to use materials that could sustain that kind of element on 4 or 5 times a year. So, using the general contract through Abcor, we think that's a really good price, and purchasing was satisfied with that, and that's why we think we want to move forward with that price in this project.
Okay, so so you just think that you're not going to get very likely to get a better price on that project?
No, I think because he lives in town. He's a historian. He cares a lot about this building. In fact, he is the one who convinced a lot of people on the Land Conservancy Trust and myself to save the building, because if a lot of people remember, we were going to be tearing it down. I think he's really would like to save this building, and we want to save the exterior of the building, and then down the road we'll do some work on the inside. But it's the first phase was last year, saving the roof, and as you know, we spent a little over $7,000 putting a new roof on that building. So that's our number one priority, was that building, the Marina building.
All right, thanks, Steve.
Mr. Murray?
Yeah, Steve, I had a question. Is there a foundation there? If I remember correctly, it's like a 3-foot foundation.
It's actually it's a slab, and it works out. It's a boathouse. It was originally, as you saw the original picture, it's a boathouse.
But there's no foundation that goes on top of that slab? No. Okay. All right. Is that leased out? Do you lease that?
Right now we're letting the URI crew use it for just storage right now for several of the tenants down there. Not officially, they use it for storage, but during this construction, everything has to be removed because and there'll be because it's going to be a major renovation for all the exteriors.
Yeah. So. Wasn't there an apartment upstairs? Wasn't there a small apartment?
Yes. And
That's
that was,
something you're gonna reinstitute or?
well, again, that's something we want to take a look at. But again, we need to be able to fix the outside, do the envelope of the
Sure,
building
right.
first, and then we'll take a look at it. But absolutely.
I'd rent that. That's the place to be right there. Okay,
Perfect location.
great job.
Thank you.
Yeah, the only additional comments I want to make, I was on the tour with Steve and Keith Lescarbeau when we went through the boathouse. And to look forward into the future for this building, to save it and to make sure the exterior is corrected. There is a very, very makeshift bathroom in there. So there is plumbing in there. So at some point in the future, maybe the land trust might want to consider actually converting it to having it some type of a comfort station for people who do use Middlebridge, especially now that it's going to be spruced up. And again, hats off to community development for getting that grant, but it'll just make that property even more usable for the general public. Mr. Holland, is there anyone from the audience who would like to speak?
There is Dr. Alba.
Welcome, Dr. Alba. Name and address, please.
Yes, Dr. Al Alba, 24 Eagles Nest Terrace, Narragansett. Yeah, like Patrick says, it sounds like it'll be a nice area for people to might want to rent out. You know, I don't know if they can make it maybe like we have the beautiful towers there and we rent that out for different venues for weddings and whatnot. I don't know if they might be able to transform this into something which might be doable for special events for people who want to have like, you know, socials or gatherings or whatnot. So it's just a consideration down the road.
Thank you. Is there anyone else, Mr. Holland?
There is Catherine.
Catherine, welcome. Name and address, please.
Catherine Celebrato, 48 Earls Court. I just have one question. Is there a legal requirement that this work be put out to bid?
I will leave that to Mr. Davis, who is on,
Yeah, Mr. Davis.
or Mr. Berg, either one.
It's really not my area of expertise, so I don't know where Mark is.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Jill, what's the question?
Is there a legal requirement that this be put out to bid?
The work be put out to bid.
I don't believe so. I think it falls within the exception.
Thank you.
All right, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there someone else wishing to speak, Mr. Holland?
There is. Next is Sue.
Sue, welcome. Name and address, please.
Hi, Sue Amoruso, West Bay Drive. My question is, you're going to spend this money, as Steve mentioned, there's standing water in the building sometimes. I mean, how wise is it to put money into a building? And many times I've gone by at a high tide or, you know, there's a heavy rainfall and the water is above on that first floor. So, I mean, there's mold and I don't know, you're worried about windows and hurricane strength, but I'm just thinking, I mean, I think this is kind of a done deal, but when I look at it, I just say it's in standing water quite frequently. So I don't know how wise all these renovations are. I just, you know, it's a nice nostalgia thing to, you know, preserve something, but without elevating that building, I don't know how you're going to control mold. Just a thought. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Wright, did you want to comment on that? It was
Yes, that's actually a very good question. I actually brought the same thing up, and again, Keith Lescambeau and did extensive research on that building and the age, and the building is actually made for that water flow. That's why it's built on that river. And if you go in there, Sue and others, if you go in there, Hurricane Sandy, there's a mark on the wall. It's about this high, and that's why I was very concerned about just throwing another coat of paint on it, because we don't have the resources to go in every 4, 5, 6, 7 years painting that on cedar shingles. So we wanted to have material like AZAC trim and hardy board and hurricane windows, because it's the exterior envelope, but structurally that building is made to withstand. It's been there for many, many, many years, and structurally it's sound. It's going to stay there for outlive all of us and beyond that. So I've been assured through the architects and engineers that that building is going to last flooding and the questions that I raised. So we're not concerned about that. I'm concerned about the exterior envelope. So we've had those questions answered.
Thank you, Mr. Wright. Is there anyone else, Dan, wishing to speak?
No, that's it.
Okay, seeing none, we'll go around and we'll take a vote from the council, starting with Mr. Lima.
Richard Lima, aye.
Mr. Pugh.
Jesse Pugh, aye.
Mr. Murray.
Patrick Murray, aye.
Jill Lawler, aye. The next motion is from the Police Department, a motion to read, pass, and adopt as a second reading, a resolution, the official list of parking restorations regulations in the town of Narragansett in accordance with Narragansett Code of Ordinances to restrict parking on Foster Road. Is there a motion?
Richard Lima, I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Lima, seconded by Mr. Pugh. So this is the second reading. It was introduced by Mr. Pugh last meeting, so I'll give him the opportunity to speak first if he would like to do so.
Thanks, Jill. Yeah, I don't have much else to say about it. I'm glad that it's gotten to this point, and looking forward to this, ordinance going through and getting some no parking signs on that road specifically, because that's it's a pretty severe situation on that road in the summertime. So that's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lima.
No, I have nothing really to comment on down there.
Okay. Mr. Murray?
I'm all set. I'm good.
Thank you. I have nothing left either. As Mr. Holland, is anyone who wishes to speak from the public?
Nobody from the public.
Okay. Having seen this, we'll start with the vote. We'll start with Mr. Lima.
Richard Lima, aye.
Mr. Pugh.
Jesse Pugh, aye.
Mr. Murray.
Patrick Murray, aye.
Jill Lawler, aye. Motion passes 4-0. Next motion is from the town solicitor, a motion to extend for 60 days the emergency ordinance providing for a moratorium on building and development that was adopted on January 21st, 2020, under the provisions of section 219B of the town charter. Is there a motion?
Richard Lima, I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Pugh. Our town solicitor is on, Mr. Berg, so I'm going to actually allow you to explain this before we have the council comment.
Okay, so this, the genesis of this motion goes back to January when this town council passed an emergency ordinance imposing a building moratorium. It was a town-wide moratorium on all construction. It was later changed, amended based on consent of the court to only apply to or to exclude construction in R40 or R80 zones, and also exclude any structure, whether a new construction or remodeling of anything over 4 bedrooms. So that ordinance, the purpose was to allow the town council and the town in general an opportunity to consider options to address the issue with the tearing down of small homes and the rebuilding of large dorm-like structures, and which were being crowded with student rentals and affecting the quality of life in certain neighborhoods. So that ordinance passed. It was renewed in March. I believe it was March 20th. And by the ordinance specifically states that these emergency ordinances have a 60-day life, and then they automatically repeal. But several days after the reenactment in March, the court issued a temporary restraining order establishing a status quo while some property owners on Sylvan Road challenged the building moratorium. And in that order, the judge stated that the building moratorium would stay in effect while the order was in effect. So from the town's opinion, the building moratorium was judicially being held in place. However, in recent filings in the lawsuit, the plaintiffs, the property owners on Silver Road, have expressed their opinion that the emergency ordinance and building moratorium has lapsed. So out of an abundance of caution, the town solicitor is bringing this motion to renew the emergency ordinance from January. Because of the court action, we have not had the ability to move forward on what we call the bulk zoning amendments that would address the issue with the tear downs and the rebuilding of overly large homes. So the state of the emergency that was originally noted is still affecting the town. So that's why we are asking the town council to renew the building moratorium. There is a court hearing on August 12th. That should be determinative of how the litigation is going to go. The town will either be able to proceed with considering the bulk zoning amendments, or the court could order that the moratorium be dissolved at that point. But for now, we're just asking for the building moratorium to be renewed for another 60 days.
Thank you, Mr. Berg. We'll start with initial questions from the council, starting with Mr. Lima. Any comment?
No, so basically this was put in place. This was an agenda item that I put on, and one of the reasons I put it on was because, again, just seemed like it was getting out of hand with what was going on. You know, large houses being put on small lots, and you know, it just made some of the neighborhoods just seem out of proportion with you know, the development that was happening. So again, put it on. I think that we need to look at you know, changing some of the ordinances that we have, and move into something with bulk zoning that puts a limitation to how big of a house you can put on a very small lot. You know, you got a 5,000 square foot lot or a 10,000 square foot lot. You know, and you want to go up 35 feet and you want to put a bunch of bedrooms or make it a superstructure, kind of takes away from some of the neighborhood areas, or, you know, locations where where this is happening. So again, you know, I'm hoping that you know, we can put something together and present it to the town, the people of the town, and hopefully that they will you know, like and be on our side with trying to keep things in order. And that's basically what it is, just trying to keep things in order. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Mr. Pugh.
Thanks, Jill. I do have a couple questions for Mr. Berg that I think hopefully will make clear some of this up, because it's a little bit confusing what's going on with this right now. Because we had basically two actions that we took. One was the bulk zoning amendments, which is one thing to stop the larger structures from being built. But then we did a separate agenda item and motion to do a moratorium as we proceeded with the bulk zoning, right? So they're kind of two separate things, although they are related. Does that sound right?
Well, what happened is the town passed the emergency ordinance putting the moratorium in place to consider options for addressing the issue. Yeah. And the option that the town was going forward with was the bulk zoning amendments. That went to the planning board. They had voted to recommend them. They forwarded to town council, but that's when the court order put the brakes on that. So the bulk zoning amendments are the result of the moratorium. It came from the town having a time to consider options to address the issue.
Okay. The lawsuit that the judge ruled, you know, added that TRO on, that lawsuit that was brought to the town, that was regarding the moratorium specifically, right?
Correct. That lawsuit was.
Sorry, go ahead.
That lawsuit was brought by two property owners that own two structures on Sylvan Road who want to build 8-bedroom houses. After the moratorium was passed, they filed the court action challenging the propriety of the moratorium. They want the moratorium lifted so they can get building permits and proceed with their construction.
Right. So they're suing the town because of the moratorium, not because of what we're considering for bulk zoning.
No, but in the effort of maintaining the status quo, the judge ordered the town to stop considering the bulk zoning. In light of the COVID crisis and other factors, she just put the brakes on everything, quite frankly.
Okay, and that was like an actual official TRO, like in writing, or it was just something that was mentioned in court?
That's a court order in writing.
In writing, okay. And that's still in effect. And at this point, is it because of the inability to have public meetings and public hearings by the town, or is it specifically the judge said TRO until I rule in this case?
Typically, temporary restraining is just that. It's temporary until the court has an opportunity to consider information presented by the parties. In this case, because of the COVID crisis and it hampered the ability of the courts to hold a hearing, it has taken longer than it usually has. But we do have a hearing scheduled on August 12th. The plaintiffs conducted 3 depositions. They were given an opportunity to gather some information. Both parties have drafted briefs. They've been filed. So the judge has all the information, and all that's left is for us to have basically legal arguments on August 12th.
Okay, so the only results that could come out of that court case would be either the moratorium is legal or the moratorium is not legal, it could be struck down, correct?
The judge will make a preliminary determination of the legality of the moratorium. If she rules in our favor, it should stay in place. We should be allowed to proceed with the bulk zoning amendments. This is what I'm anticipating. If she rules that the building moratorium was not proper, she'll probably order it be dissolved, and then the plaintiffs will be able to get their permits because I believe they're pretty much ready to go.
Okay, and there'll be a gap between that ruling and the town council being able to take any action on bulk zoning amendments.
Right, because right now we can't publish notices. We can't have the public meetings. You need to amend the zoning ordinances. And that cannot happen before August 12th, obviously.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Thanks.
My pleasure.
Mr. Murray, do you have any questions?
No questions. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. So Mr. Berg was in court on Friday and received the court date of next week. And we'll hear more about that later on. Is there anyone from the public wishing to speak, Mr. Holland?
There is. First is Stanley Wojciechowski.
Stanley, welcome. Name and address, please.
Stan Wojciechowski on Horse Neck Road. I thought I heard liberty and justice for all. Then I'm thinking about property rights. We all have the same property rights in our liberty. My next door neighbor on Middle Road on a real small lot has a house 35 feet, I think 35 feet high, which is affords her the ability to have an ocean view. And I was really happy for her. I saw her sitting on the 3rd floor and she can see the ocean. It's beautiful. So she's really enjoying her property. And it made me think, I want to knock down my little ranch. Beach houses are gone. You know, you don't have a small little home anymore. So I want to copy her and build a 3-story myself. I got 13 grandchildren, 5 kids. They can come on over, get on the top floor and see the ocean. You know, I don't see it. I don't think it's appropriate for us to establish laws and rules based on college noise. All right. You've got the 35 feet. We got the zoning rules, and it should apply to all. And I'm talking right now. You look on Middle Road. You go from small houses to big houses. They're already there. Look at Scarborough. Got those massive houses, 35 feet. You're past that 35-foot deal. So therefore, you approved of these big houses, whether they're rented or not rented. They're out there. And now you're telling me I'm not going to be able to build one of those when my next door neighbor has one? I think this is very unfair, un-American, and it should be postponed. This should be postponed until the zoning and planning boards go over exactly how we change our zoning. But we can't just say we're going to have a bunch of little beach houses out there for the rest of our lives. I don't think that's going to happen. That was okay 30 years ago when I used to rent, but that's gone. A family today wants a 3-story building with a lot of bedrooms, whether they rent or not. It doesn't necessarily mean they'll be renting it, and they may or may not. But we don't make the decision based on what they're going to use it for. It's their right to use the property as their next door neighbor is. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Wojciechowski. Mr. Holland, is there someone else wishing to speak?
There is. Next is Dr. Alba.
Dr. Alba, welcome. Name and address, please.
Yes, Dr. Al Alba, 24 Eagles Nest Terrace, Narragansett, Rhode Island. We have to correct a wrong. If you have a residential neighborhood which has been designed plat-wise for 2 or 3 bedrooms, it does an injustice for all those other houses in there, that area, to have a 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 bedroom house. It's not zoned correctly. It's like, that's why we have commercial zoning and we have residential zoning. If we allow anyone to build, knock down 2 or 3 small houses because they have money, it's not the golden rule. He who owns the gold rules. It should not be allowed because it's no longer residential. It becomes commercial. And we shouldn't have commercial property in residential area. I also don't think it should be all or nothing. Along Ocean Road, we see beautiful houses that are obstructing anyone's view. They got an acre lot. So fine, if they want to build a beautiful house, a multi-million-dollar house along Hazard Avenue or along the Ocean Road, which isn't abutting all these small 2, 3, 4 bedroom houses where these people worked all their lives to live in a quaint, quiet neighborhood, to have that disrupted and taken away from them. Well, that's what's got to be addressed. That's what has to be addressed. So I'm all for, if someone has the money and they're multimillionaires and they want to build a $1 million house along Ocean Road, I see them when I go up and down there. They're beautiful. God bless them. But as long as they're not in the residential areas where these people who have been living there all their lives are having their peace and quiet taken away from them in the serenity, so it shouldn't, like I said, we have to think of others as we want to treat others as we would like them to treat us. That's the golden rule. We can't just let these out-of-state developers, like, thank God that food court did not get built. We can't have these people who have the money just come into this town, do what they want. If that out-of-court developer came in here, he could have taken away a lot of business from our local restaurants, and that's not right. We have to be mindful of our residents, our businesses, before we allow things to happen. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Alba. Is there someone else, Mr. Holland?
There is. Next is Harry Schofield.
Welcome, Mr. Schofield. Name and address, please.
Yes, Harry Schofield, 9 Atlantic Avenue. Presumably the 2 projects that are the subject of the lawsuit on Sylvan Drive and similar houses like that, 6, 7, 8 bedroom construction projects, people are building them, presumably not for their own use, but for things like Airbnb. It would seem to me, in the absence of the bulk zoning amendment you hope to get to, it would seem to me, if we start enforcing the 4 unrelateds rule, wouldn't that serve as an effective deterrent for overstuffed houses, no matter how many bedrooms they have? Doesn't that address in some ways density control? It may not stop the building of an 8-bedroom, house between now and the bulk zoning, but it would certainly limit its density. I'd welcome someone's comments on that.
Thank you, Mr. Schofield. Is there someone else wishing to speak, Mr. Holland?
There is. Steve.
Welcome, Steve. Name and address, please.
Thank you, Council Member Stephen Ferrandi, 44 Sylvan Road, Narragansett. Thank you for hearing me tonight. This is a classic. Can you hear me?
Yes, if you can speak up a little bit louder.
Yes, I can. This is a classic case of what's been happening to the neighborhoods, probably 20 to 25 years, where, there's an ordinance passed 20 years ago that raises a height limit. No one has the foresight, planning board or whatever, to figure out what's going to happen to this town. We knew 20 years ago, if you were on the sewers, that you could probably build these 8-bedroom houses. We tried other ordinances, unrelated, 3-student, one you're seeing now. Okay, so this isn't anything new. We're just seeing it now, and it's really massing like crazy. So it's a classic case that developer comes in, they have a lot of money interest, and they sue the town. They tie up the town. Now, in effect, these people have put a lawsuit on the town and tied our hands to doing our own zoning for about 6 months now. Okay, then you have the planning board that's looking at these other issues, and they're arguing about a 3-student or a 4. The solicitor has said, both of the ordinances are fine. One might complement, one has something that the other one doesn't. So it's a classic case that the town really needs to put a line in the sand and stand on the side of the residents, which I'm glad they're doing. I just wanted to get out where all our departments have to understand what's happening in this town. Total assault on our neighborhoods and the neighborhood people that have to live here and live with this. I appreciate you taking it up, and I appreciate you extending it, because Berg understands that we're probably in jeopardy of possibly losing the moratorium. Then where are we? You're going to see dozens and dozens of developers coming with these 8-bedroom homes, and they're going to be able to get their permits in a day or two. So please understand what this is about, and let's get all the boards to understand what's it about. Not worry about ordinances that pass a Supreme Court in Rhode Island and explain, oh, it just doesn't feel right. You know, something about college students. It's done in these other towns. That's why they saved it. So thank you for hearing me, and that's my opinion on that.
Thank you, Mr. Ferrandi. Mr. Holland, is there someone else wishing to speak?
No, that's it.
Okay. Seeing none, is there any other member of the council that wishes to speak before we vote? Okay.
Yeah, I just want to say that I'm in support with this. You know, Stanley is right, you know, about property rights. We have certain property rights right up until it starts infringing on someone else's property rights. So that's what this is about. That's, you know, you can't build something that's going to infringe on somebody else's quiet enjoyment. So that's what we're doing here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Murray. We'll take the vote. Mr. Lima?
Richard Lima, aye.
Mr. Pugh?
Jesse Pugh, aye.
Mr. Murray?
Patrick Murray, aye.
Jill Lawler, aye. So now is a time for public forum, public comment. If you could please conduct yourself in an orderly, respectful manner. I'm not going to time you, and I'm going to ask that everyone wishes to stay under that 3 mark. So if you could try to limit your comments to less than 3 minutes, that would be greatly appreciated. Mr. Holland, who will be our first speaker?
First is Stanley.
Stanley, your name and address, please.
Stanley Chowski, Boston Lake Road. I heard, I guess, that there was 39 noise events with the students last year. 39 out of over 2,000 rentals a year, and it's 39 offenses. Now, we've rented to students for 48 years, and I want to tell you, I have never had a problem unless the students were drunk. I've never, you know, if I've been called to a noisy house, I had a situation, or either my home or anywhere, they drunk. That's why their behavior is so stupid. Or they had a party where today, you know, with today's world with the computer, everybody goes around and looks for the party house so they can get drunk. So the real problem is drunk and disorderly. The drunk and disorderly crowd is the problem, not the students. It's the drunk people, okay? Therefore, I suggest a fine of $10,000 for drunk and disorderly. The $5,500 fine, I guess, is the normal fine for peace disturbance, but we should have a cost recovery of $9,500 per offense. And I should go with all drunk offenses, whether it's noise, whether it's drunk driving. It should pay for our police officers. We need to fund our police officers so they continue to do the fantastic job they are, and they can hire more people to make sure we don't even have 39 offenses like we did last year. So the police should have a fund, so it's not by situation, but they should have a fund that they fund with $9,500 from each offense. Now, with that kind of issue, I would say very few students or anyone, even non-students, would get drunk and cause a problem. We wouldn't have to worry about house sizes and students this and students that. It's a drunk issue. Anytime I've been to my unit, It's quiet because nobody's drinking. And it's almost the opposite can be said. If it's a little too noisy, somebody's drinking. And we need to get the fine appropriate so the police chief can do his job even better than he has. He has done a fantastic job, but we want every last one of them, every last 39 of them, we want them all gone. The only way is to make a ridiculous fine and cost recovery is the answer. We need to pursue that. Never mind infringing on property rights. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Wojciechowski. Mr. Holland, who will be your next speaker?
Next is Sue Amoruso.
Welcome. Name and address, please.
Hi, Sue Ann Maruso, West Bay Drive. I just wanted to talk a little bit about some of the things that happened at the last meeting that I didn't get time to speak on because the meeting got adjourned. I am for restoring the funds to the library. I know it's a continuing theme for me, but I feel that we're doing a great injustice to the town by not restoring the budget. And I'd like to point out that Patrick Murray did, probably in the fall, a comprehensive presentation of the numbers with the actual cost of the bond, the building, the fees, everything was up there on an overhead so that everyone who was attending the meeting could follow it. But Mr. Lima, all I've heard, I've never seen a presentation with facts and figures on a PowerPoint. I mean, you give these facts, they're quick, they're done orally, you know, take X amount of dollars here, take this many there, you add it to that, and there's all the money. Well, I would really like to see, and I've talked to other people who would like to see your logic, not just orally, but I'd like to see it up on a PowerPoint presentation. I think we need details to really see that, you know, the credibility of your figures, because right now we don't have that. And I think that we're foolish to spend any more money on studies that were mentioned on what to do with the library, because for 2 years, we've had this time and there's been no solid plan as Plan B. So Plan A is put it in the old Belmont building, but there has been no solid, where is this state-of-the-art building going to go? People aren't really looking at the history of what's been done over the past 12 years. And another thing that I wanted to comment from the last meeting was the issue of the library door. Now, tonight, just like many other nights, we have passed all these items and said, yep, we all vote, yep, we're gonna spend it, it's okay. And some of them are pricey. And, you know, it just, okay, we've got some grants. But this door to make our library safer for the people in our town who are using it and the staff there, why this can't be approved. I think there should be a revote, and I really think it should be, you know, approved because it was in their operating budget. And, you know, we've got the greeters at the town hall to ensure that our town hall personnel is safe. Well, I think the library staff and the patrons deserve the same consideration. And another thing that was addressed in that meeting was the issue of parking. And I think that we need to preserve parking spaces at points of access to our shoreline. There's enough space, even if a road has to be made wider. It's when you bought that property, you know you're by a right of way. So you should anticipate people using that right of way, not it becoming just a little private access part. So I think the day somebody described, oh, well, you know, you could just knock on somebody's door and tell them you're going to go do this and stuff like that. Well, those days are gone. And actually, one of the neighborhoods mentioned that you could do that in the past, now has not one, but 2 signs up that clearly state, very large, private, residents and invited guests only, no trespassing. So the welcome mat is not out in many neighborhoods. So that's how I feel. And I think the library the whole thing is a disgrace that our town does not have a library that we can be proud of as far as a physical layout and give our fantastic librarians the tools that they need to deliver services, especially at a time like this. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Amoroso. Mr. Holland, who's up next?
Next is Dr. Alba.
Dr. Alba, name and address, please.
Yes, Dr. Al Alba, 24 Eagles Nest Terrace, Narragansett, Rhode Island. I agreed with what the planning board said, 4 and no more, with regards to number of non-unrelated. I think that should also carry over for summertime. You know, we should treat everyone equally. This is nothing, you know, I think URI students are fantastic. And I hope they make the town vibrant, which is a great thing. So I hope we have plenty of URI students continue to rent in Narragansett. In regards to some of the comments about students being drunk, I don't think a lot of students are drunk. But on the other hand, what I'm against is these large houses in neighborhoods where you have 2 or 3 bedroom houses. So they could be basically saints. The students could be saints. But I tell you one thing, if I had a 2 or 3 bedroom house and there were all 2 or 3 bedroom houses in the neighborhood, and I saw a 7, 8, 9, 10 bedroom house next to me, I wouldn't like it. I know my house would depreciate. I live in Riverfront. In Riverfront, I was a president for many, many years here. And we have bylaws. They can only put, you know, if we're going to be putting something up, if we're going to be putting up a shed up, if we're going to be putting up a fence up, it's got to go through the planning. We can't just put it up. The reason being is because it could have an adverse effect on the entire neighborhood. All of the houses are dictated, and when they built this neighborhood, Riverfront, they said, you can only build a house in a certain way, you know, because you don't want to infringe upon the other neighbors. So we can't have spot zoning. We can't have these developers come in. It's got nothing to do against the URI students. URI students, they're fantastic. We shouldn't be pointing the finger at them. They could be saints. But what I'm upset about is when we have the spot zoning, when you have a developer come in and knock 2 or 3 of these 2 or 3, 4 small houses down, and then they build these huge conglomerates, these dorm-sized houses, which totally take away the value, the site, the peace of mind, the quietness, the quaintness, the beauty of the entire neighborhood. They're just out of proportion. They're not right. And it has to be stopped. So that's what I just have to share that with all of you. And, you know, Stan says, well, we have a freedom. It's a freedom. Even Patrick said that tonight too. You know, we have a freedom. Well, no, we have to be considerate of others. It's not he who has the gold rules. We got to look at our neighbors, and we can't just have these huge houses be built because someone has the money to build it. If the neighborhood is not fit for that building, it should not be built there. You know, that's why we don't have spot zoning. Anyone who's in real estate knows. That's why we don't have commercial buildings put in residential areas. When my father had a place on Ocean Road and he sold it, he used to have a nice, a small apartment back there. When they took it down, they says that apartment was grandfathered in. When the person bought it, they had to have it torn down. He goes, why can't I keep that up? Oh, it was non-conforming property at the time. He couldn't keep it up. It was non-conforming. So my dad was able to keep it up because it was granted to stay up because it was non-conforming. But as soon as he sold it, boom, it had to come down. So, I mean, if the zoning board was that adamant against my dad when he sold the property and he had to get less money for the property because that little apartment had to be torn down, then how come we're allowing these huge houses being built in areas where they should not be built? You know, it's got to stop. It has to stop. It's not fair for our neighborhood. So thank you very much. Thanks for hearing me, and God bless you all.
Thank you, Dr. Alba. Mr. Holland, is there someone next?
Next is Paul Zonfrillo.
Mr. Zonfrillo, name and address, please.
Hi, Paul Zonfrillo, 7 Windward Circle. Just want to say the planning board decision was horrible. I've never seen five more out of touch people. I didn't even know that they lived in Narragansett. It was just a terrible decision. And Mr. Indeglia's comments were particularly egregious when he talked about the shining star of URI, the crown jewel of URI, and how important it was to be good to URI. and really telling the residents that we just had to suck it up and, you know, make sure we have a good relationship with URI. You have a good relationship with URI by having strong zoning and by having strong options. So horrible decision, no credibility. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Holland, and next speaker, please.
Harry Schofield.
Welcome, Mr. Schofield. Name and address.
Yes, Harry Schofield, 9 Atlantic. So I'm happy to follow and agree with Paul Zonfrillo's comments. I sent a letter to the editors today to this effect. I was also greatly disappointed listening to that planning board meeting. Again, having chaired the original Foreign Relateds Committee that put forth that role, as I said a few weeks ago, we did so because at the time, 4 was all we could get past. Many people wanted 3, most people wanted 3. And the fact that we're now able to do both, we should pursue both. And I completely agree with Paul. The comments by some of these people on the planning board that URI is a prize and we should support our school. Someone else thought summer renters were equally troublesome, that, you know, many students and landlords follow the rules. Some of them said, you know, renting to students in the winter enables families to afford summer homes. I mean, this is outrageous. They show more allegiance to URI and to landlords than to tax-paying residents of this town. I mean, their naivete and disconnect in the dialogue they went through in that meeting, I found disgusting. And their references to fuzzy goals in the comprehensive plan. Comprehensive plan is a bureaucratic document that collects dust until someone references it to protect vested interests. And to be dusting off the comprehensive plan to try and you know, muddy the value of a simple ordinance. We clearly should. They deserve some credit for the dialogue about the value of enforcement. But the fact that the foreign related ordinance hadn't been enforced is not the town's fault. They've been prohibited from enforcing it until now. And you should go forth and enforce it now. But that doesn't discredit the value of adding a 3 students limit, because student rentals have specific differences from general density control. And, you know, just consider that a 4-bedroom house may have 4 students, there's 4 cars. Add a few more of their friends, overnight friends usually, and there's a few more cars, and those cars flow out into lawns and streets. Add even minor late night socializing. People are woken up, they're calling the landlords, calling the police, getting cars ticketed. And then eventually they go back to sleep and it goes unnoticed. These things aren't a part of the statistics. It's not the loud, extreme drunkenness and riots that does result in orange stickers that causes the problems in these neighborhoods. It's the subtle events I just described that have burdened, you know, neighborhoods here for years. And that's the reason we should have a 3-student limit in addition to the 4 unrelated limit. And for the planning board to not recognize this is just abhorrent. I mean, they are just, I hate to say it, I appreciate their service, but they seem to be on another planet. You know, the fact is, again, with 3,000 rental houses approximately, if each one of them had 3 students, that's 9,000 students. That's more than half the population, or at least the undergraduate population of URI. Give me a break. You know, they are, hopefully the town council, you folks will ignore their recommendation, pass a 3 students, you know, limit like Providence did, and rigorously enforce the 4 unrelateds as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schofield. Mr. Holland, is there someone else wishing to speak?
There is Megan Murray.
Oh, Ms. Murray, welcome. Name and address, please. Unmute yourself, Megan. Mute yourself. There you go.
There we go. Hi, Megan Murray, Star Drive, Narragansett. So I grew up here. I'm a proud URI alum. Obviously, I'm a resident taxpayer here and have been for quite some time. My thing with the whole thing with URI is that I believe that the town has not really taken advantage of having any sort of pulse on what's going on with the university. And I think that what would really help the situation is having having a coalition that's actually proactive in speaking with the university administration, especially housing and residential life. They have a judicial process for students that live on campus. And now that we've got a younger population of students off campus due to COVID, I believe that we might be facing a bigger problem once September rolls around. So I really think that I think it's best for us to develop an actual committee who is really going to be proactive in dealing with the campus population and administration. That's it.
Thank you, Ms. Murray. Mr. Holland, is someone else wishing to speak?
There is. Next is Karen Schalowitz.
Welcome, Mr. Schalowitz. Your name and address, please. And you'll need to unmute yourself, please.
Karen Schalowitz, 63 Wanda Street. I want to say I totally agree with Sue Amoruso's comments about the library funding during the pandemic. It's more important than ever that we have adequate space to do library programs. There are many people that can't go on and visit with family members. Family members can't come up here to visit because of the pandemic. And there's a lot of isolation in the community, and the library serves residents year round. And it was shameful what went on in the last 2 years, very shameful. And we can't continue to go down this route. It's terrible, and it's wiping out the opportunity for families to move into the area. Another thing I wanted to address is with the oncoming storm that's headed up the coast, whether it hits here or not, I'm concerned about flooding in the streets, because a few weeks ago, there was a big storm and somebody took a video, which was online, of the flooding along the wall and on Route 1A. And I lived here during Bob, and I remember how the flooding was really terrible then, and it went over the road and everything else. And now with all the construction going on, particularly close to the shore, is there adequate drainage available now with the infrastructure of the pipes to drain off water so people's houses don't get flooded? Has there been any progress in this area at all? Because eventually we're going to get another big storm with a lot of rain. And where's the rain going to go? Except on people's property, in their first floor, in their basement, and it's an act of nature that we have to be prepared for. We can't wait for the storm to come in. So has there been any progress in that, draining off huge amounts of water? No answers.
But you know, Mr. Schalowitz, this is not a question for question and answers. This is just a period of time for our residents to. So if you'd like to speak further, you may.
Yeah, 2 hours ago, I got an emergency phone call from the town about the oncoming storm and securing everything and the danger of flooding, So you can kick it down the road as usual and then not be prepared when we have a crisis.
Thank you. Mr. Holland, is there anyone else who wishes to speak?
No, that's it.
All right. Is there a motion to retire to executive session of the Narragansett Town Council in accordance with RI General Law 42, 46, 4, and 4246-5A. Litigation in accordance with RIGL 42-46-5A2. Love Your Library et al. Versus Mannix et al. WC 2019-0495. Also 29 Sylvan et al. Versus Narragansett, WC 2020-0112. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Lima, seconded by Pugh. Thank you very much. Now we'll take a vote. Start with
just-
Mr. Lima. Oh, I'm sorry, Terry. Oops, you're mute.
Not at all. I'm sorry. Go right ahead.
Start the vote with Mr. Lima,
Richard Lima, aye.
Mr. Pugh,
Jesse Pugh, aye.
Mr. Murray,
Patrick Murray, aye.
Jill Lawler, aye. Thank you. Good night, Narragansett. Everybody be safe in the waves tomorrow. It's gonna be tempting to look at them, but stay off those rocks. We don't want the chief to have to rescue you, right, chief? Good night. And to the council, we'll see you on the executive session.